Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ari, and today we're going to have some more stories about our toxic life. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video, if you enjoy it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now without further ado, let's go. Today's first story. In this story, after 4 years together, preparing to propose, he discovers his girlfriend, Anna, cheating. Despite his devotion and financial support, Anna's social nature and weight gain strain their relationship. She becomes emotionally abusive and distant while secretly seeing someone from the gym. Confronted with evidence, Anna is ousted and attempts to reconcile but is rebuffed. He finds closure, relieved to be rid of her manipulations. Now let's get into the story. My ex-girlfriend and I had been dating for 4 years, and I was getting ready to propose to her before I found out she was cheating on me. Anna and I loved each other a lot. We were not the perfect Hollywood couple, but we loved each other. While we were dating, I asked Anna to move in with me because I wanted her to be around me all the time. She moved in a year after we started dating, and she went to college for my place. Being that we had dated for a long time, both of our parents were aware of our relationship, and they consented to Anna moving in with me since we were planning to settle anyway. I was a remote worker who earned well, so money was not an issue for us. My clients paid well, and in turn, I provided everything Anna wanted. If she wanted to shop every week, hang out with her friends, do her nails, or even get new wigs, they were all provided for. I cared about Anna, and I wanted her to be happy. I played my part in being loyal and faithful, and I refrained from doing anything that would cause me to cheat on her or talk to any woman longer than I should. Anna, on the other hand, was a social butterfly. If she met someone on the same day, it would not take long before they became patties. This was the only problem I had with her, and it was always the cause of our fights. In the process of being social with most men that would cross their boundaries, and Anna did not seem to have a problem with it. If we talked about it, she would tell me this is who I am, and I am not going to change my personality because you are not comfortable with it. So I let it slide. When Anna finished college, she was not able to get a job immediately after. So in the process of staying at home with me, she added extra pounds, and this made her very uncomfortable. She had to change her wardrobe because her clothes no longer fit. Being that she had expanded, I suggested that she try intermittent fasting. But when we weren't getting the results we wanted, I then suggested that she sign up for a gym, and she agreed. The first few weeks after Anna signed up at the gym, she wanted to stop going because of how much her body hurt. She would literally skip some days, and I would persuade her to keep going. She loathed going to the gym, and it was never something she looked forward to. But down the line, I noticed she began to change, and going to the gym was something she prepared for a day before. At first, I thought it was because she successfully passed that beginner stage where working out would not have to hurt anymore. But I was wrong. Ideally, she was supposed to go to the gym 3 times a week, since she spent most of her time at home doing nothing. But she changed it to 5 times a week, including weekends. This did not sit well with me, but I could not complain since it was my idea for her to sign up for the gym in the first place. Slowly, Anna began to stay longer than usual, and most times she would come home with so much excitement as if that was not enough. Anna would pick fights over the smallest things. If I told her she looked better in a particular pair of pants, she'd get pissed. If I told her I didn't want a particular meal for breakfast, she'd make a big deal out of it. When I could not take it anymore, I told her parents about it. And when her parents called to talk to her, she got upset and left the house for about a week. At that point, I was so worried. We never had the kind of fight where she had to leave the house, and I didn't want her parents to know about it either. After repeatedly calling and begging her for the whole week, she returned. And that's when things got worse. I had to apologize for everything she did, even when it was clear that she was the one at fault. I did the cooking, laundry, and took care of the house. I did everything possible to make sure that we didn't fight again, even when she got on my nerves sometimes. Because if I did, she would threaten to leave, and I didn't want that. Meanwhile, she did not miss any of her gym workout days. But our relationship was slowly falling apart before everything turned out the way it did. We used to get intimate at least 3 times a week, but after she changed, we could go 2 weeks before she let me touch her. One day, she returned from the gym quite late as usual, but in high spirits. And that particular day, I was having a tough time working because my service provider was giving me issues. I asked to borrow her phone so I could use her hotspot, and she just unlocked it and handed it to me. Then she went to her room to shower and change while I was with her phone. It didn't take long before a message from a certain Andrew popped up. It said, "I know I should not be texting you now, but I want you to the sweetest and sexiest girl I know, and I love how you drive me crazy. See you soon." Then he added those heart-shaped emojis. It took me a while to wrap my head around what was going on. And when I did, without wasting time, I took screenshots of the texts and forwarded them straight to her family WhatsApp group. And then I called her mother immediately when this happened, and it kept trying to talk to me from the bedroom, but when I wasn't responding, she came out to meet my eyes filled with tears. I asked her if she was seeing someone else, and she flared up and threatened to leave as usual. But this time, I helped her in packing her bags. When she realized she had been busted, she begged and begged, but I still kicked her out. Her parents called her and yelled at her to the extent she could not control her tears. She knew she had disappointed them, and she had to live with that. I could not believe I allowed her to emotionally manipulate me while she was screwing another guy from the gym behind my back. She tried to come back to me several times, but I warned her to never come close to me or my apartment, as manipulative as she was. She even tried to remind me of everything we shared and told me to not let one mistake ruin everything. I had enough, and I got her a restraining order. Later on, I found out that the time she left the house for a week, it was Andrew's house she stayed at and not one of her friends, as she claimed. Funny thing is, she did not even know Andrew was married, and his wife and son had traveled for that period. After about 3 months, she started calling my number again with a different number, begging me to take her back. She was sorry, but I blocked her again, though it was not easy. I'm happy I got rid of that manipulative woman. Today's second story. In this story, a couple's idyllic Bora Bora vacation turns sour when the wife becomes infatuated with a wealthy man on the trip, ultimately cheating on her husband. Caught in the act, she shows little remorse. The husband leaves her, and her father disapproves of her behavior. She moves out to live with her cousin, leaving her marriage in ruins. The husband reflects on the importance of appreciating what one has. Now let's get into the story. My wife and I, 42, were touring Bora Bora for her 38th birthday. I worked hard every day to make this happen for her because she meant the world to me. We were together for 7 years at this point. For our vacation, we were part of a group that had several different tourist attractions lined up. The cost of the ticket included the attractions, hotel stay, transportation, and even meals and drinks. It was extremely convenient, not having to think about money or our budget at all. Looking back, it felt like I was in a different world for that week. This feeling must have gone to my wife's head a little because she started acting incredibly different. We met a nice couple at the start of the tour at a big breakfast. They sat at our table and stayed pretty close to us the rest of the trip. We took pictures of each other in front of scenic areas and started chatting about our lives back at home. This couple had a pretty lavish life. They and their parents owned hotels in New York City. I could see my wife's wheels turning as she started asking the couple for life advice. She started to seem disappointed and quiet because she was comparing our lives to theirs. We couldn't help that we didn't come from a wealthy lineage, but we each had decent jobs, and according to me, our life was good. We were making the best of our situation, but it wasn't good enough for my wife, at least not the vacation spellbound version of my wife, who felt like she could get used to this spoiled way of living. She started speaking with AP directly more, even if his wife and I were standing or sitting there. He made a reference to his extraordinary skills in the bedroom, and it didn't go unnoticed. His wife elbowed him, my wife giggled, and I wanted to take her far away from him. His wife had the same idea because she started talking with him and leading him away to look at the scenery. I asked my wife directly if she was flirting with him. She was surprised I asked so straightforwardly and blushed as she said absolutely not. The next day, we went snorkeling, and I always seemed to notice AP swimming nearby. Afterward, we were on the beach, and thankfully, weren't too close to the couple. My wife hesitantly asked if I ever considered a foursome. I spat out my drink. No, I didn't want to share her, and our vacation wasn't the appropriate time to discuss this kind of proposition. I had believed up until that point that my wife wouldn't want to sleep with anyone but me. I became very nervous, and after we ate dinner with everyone, we found out AP and his wife were staying on the same hotel floor as us. I didn't like this at all, and I would have felt even worse if I knew my wife already got AP's phone number. In the hotel room that night, she talked about the couple, but it seemed like she only talked about AP's wife. So I wouldn't suspect how interested she was in AP. I told her to stop talking about them, and that I didn't want to hang out with them anymore during our vacation. I added that I didn't like how AP stared at her in her bathing suit. She smiled a little when I said this, and I called her on it. She shut herself in the bathroom because she was frustrated I was being so accusatory. The next day, we went for an underwater walk. Wearing helmets with oxygen, we were able to peek into the lives of tropical fish. It was nice, and I didn't notice the couple as much. I was feeling happy and hopeful, and it seemed like my wife decided to wake up. We went up onto the beach to dry off, drink, eat, and tan. The couple was out of sight, and my wife and I lay side by side in lounge chairs. The next thing I knew, I was waking up from a nap. It must have been at least 30 minutes because my legs were toasted by the sun. My wife was gone. I started walking around and looking for her, kind of disoriented. I saw some of our tour group members, so I knew I wasn't left behind. When I saw AP's wife was alone, I panicked. I noticed footprints in the sand leading away from the crowd. In the giant rock face to the right, I found a sea cave entrance and could hear my wife giggling. I only walked in a few steps to see them kissing deeply. AP's arms were wrapped around her, feeling whatever he could. I just yelled, "Hey," because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My wife gasped and pushed AP back. Then she began to realize how guilty they both looked and that I definitely saw what they were doing. She said she was sorry, but it was without emotion. I was just staring at them for what felt like minutes before. I just told them they were both married. I asked what the heck they were thinking, and my wife just quietly said she needed to have more thrills. My voice cracked when I asked how a trip to Bora Bora wasn't enough. How I wasn't enough. Suddenly, AP's wife appeared behind me. She freaked out even more than I was. In her dismay, she yelled about how he had the nerve to sneak off with another man's wife while she was carrying his child. Then it looked like my wife felt really bad. AP should have felt worse, because he knew his wife was expecting, and he knew my wife was married too. I was sure they would have slept with each other if given the chance, so I left my wife there. I went straight home, leaving the tour early. I left my wife's belongings in the hotel room. I didn't care if she would follow me home or not. I knew I didn't want to forgive her for wanting and letting another man touch her, even if she regretted it or acknowledged that it was bad. Only a few days passed after I got home before I got a call from my wife's father. At first, I thought he was going to be upset with me for leaving his daughter there, but instead, he apologized to me. My ex was there, at his house with him, looking devastated and embarrassed. She told him she was in love with a married man that she just met on vacation with me. He told me she said I left her there because I was upset that she was spending time with this man. I corrected this, telling him that I caught her with AP's hands all over her and his tongue in her mouth. He was really surprised and uncomfortable. He yelled at her, calling her by her full name like she was a child. She acted like a child, whining in the background. He told me he was going to deal with her. 2 weeks later, he told me she left his house to live with her cousin as a sort of live and maid, in exchange for free meals and a place to stay. I didn't believe it because not even 3 weeks ago, our marriage was going so well. She was loving her job and we had hopes for the future. She just lost it when she saw people that had more. Let this be a lesson to everyone, not to get carried away just because you think you deserve what others have. Life simply can't be the same for everyone. Appreciate what you have, that you found love and someone trusts you with their heart.